Hello fellow health-seeking humans. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jake, and today I want to tell you about my nightmare with sulfur sensitivity and how I got down to 86 pounds. I've been talking recently about how I've been going through something very scary, but I wasn't ready to talk about it, so that's what we will be talking about in this video. Just when you think you've hit rock bottom, somehow there's a rockier bottom beneath you. Let's just hope it's not bottomless. Like bottomless fries at Red Robin, you remember those? I've been dealing with sulfur sensitivity for almost a year now, and I have been subsisting on these 5 foods. When I developed my sulfur sensitivity, I had 3 practitioners and they each had their own theory for why I developed the sulfur sensitivity out of nowhere. Also, don't look at my nails. No, seriously. Stop looking at them. Stop looking at them! One thought it was due to hydrogen sulfide SIBO, the other thought it was due to an inability to process sulfur, and the other one said something about mast cell that I never really caught. So mast cell. I didn't know which theory was right at the time, but shortly after, the Trio Smart Breath test for hydrogen sulfide SIBO came out, and I got my results back, and my result was a 10, which is the highest that the test goes. I then started to react to all my safe foods, all my safe meds, water, and my bladder pain shot up out of nowhere. Due to these terrifying symptoms and based off the hydrogen sulfide test, I decided to treat for the hydrogen sulfide SIBO, and my numbers came down to under 5, which is the cutoff for normal. This brought me back to my previous baseline, and I was able to pass gas more easily, but beyond that, I didn't have that much improvement. Shortly thereafter, I had setback after setback, and after I filmed a video on those setbacks, I continued to have more setbacks, which sent me into survival mode. I started to react to potatoes. I would get extremely fatigued anytime I ate a potato meal, and I could fall asleep sitting up in bed, which I never do, and then I would get really sharp nerve pain that was so severe it would wake me up out of this potato coma. So I mostly fasted for 2 days to see if I could get my body to calm down, because that's what's always worked in the past, but it didn't work this time. Another thing that was happening slowly was I was starting to lose more and more of my hair. I saw one of my doctors and told him about my new and rather dire situation about not being able to eat. And I also told him that my breasts had been swelling for more and more days out of the month, to the point where they were swollen literally all the time. In a previous video, I had attributed this breast swelling to exosomes because I had nothing else to attribute it to, but I now know that I was wrongly attributing it to exosomes. After telling my doctor about the potato reactions and the breast swelling, he recommended like 8 different supplements, and even though I don't tolerate 99.9% of things that go down my throat, I knew I had to try some of these things and try to push through the reactions in order to troubleshoot what was going wrong, because I was losing weight fast. Because of this weight loss, another one of my doctors had mentioned total parenteral nutrition, or TPN, which is where you get all your nutrients through your veins, and this was scary. I burst into tears in that doctor's appointment. So out of the 8 supplements that doctor recommended, one of them was calcium D-glucarate to help with the estrogen processing, and he said that it would work quickly. And by estrogen processing, I mean phase 2 detoxification by the liver. I needed something to work quickly, and damn, he was right. Okay, I want my mom to try this. Damn!
Damn! Did I do it?
That was pretty good. That was better than I thought you were gonna do. And your face was funny. I was like a little worried.
I worked really hard.
Worried, but like,
I was worried.
Damn! After 1 pill, the breast swelling was completely gone. Bye, boobies! I sort of miss them, but I rather feel good. And after 1.5 pills, I started my period 5 days early, and I felt immediately better, so I knew we were on to something. I then saw my naturopath, who has been a fantastic addition to my team, and we went over my Dutch test, which is an advanced hormone test, and it showed me that basically I'm all screwed up. More specifically, it showed that my cortisol was low, my hormones are imbalanced, and my different types of estrogen are imbalanced. I told her about the breast swelling and the hair loss, and she told me that this was indicative of estrogen dominance. Estrogen dominance is not a mainstream diagnosis, and to put it very simply, it's an imbalance of estrogen and other hormones like testosterone and progesterone, and it can happen to both females and males. So at this point, I knew my sulfur sensitivity was severe, and I knew that I had some symptoms of estrogen dominance, but I didn't quite get how those were related. And here are some other dots that needed connecting. One was, after being on the sulfur diet for many months, I lost the ability to tolerate butter, and this was very distressing at the time because I was literally getting a third of my calories each day from butter.
And my lipstick.
A couple months after that, I lost the ability to tolerate safflower oil, which my mom puts in my soup for calories and also for fat. Humans need fat, and this was another distressing time in terms of calories. So I sat in front of my computer on my mom's bed with my mom, and we researched all day while I was basically starving to death. And she fell asleep at around 10 p.m. and at 1 a.m. I woke her up and I was like, I think I figured it out. My best work is usually done around the midnight hour. I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour. It's too bad I don't want kids because I could embarrass them so much. Isn't that the point of having kids? So this is what I figured out on my 12-hour research rampage. I first wanted to figure out the relationship between estrogen dominance and sulfur. Now, if you have estrogen dominance, you probably know how these two things are related, so shh, don't ruin it. I joined an estrogen dominance group on Facebook and I searched the term sulfur. Look at those researching skills. I almost just said estrogen dominatrix. Is that what I should be for Halloween? An estrogen dominatrix. What does an estrogen dominatrix wear or look like? Just a normal dominatrix. I was expecting to find information like sulfur and estrogen are processed through the same pathway in the body, and so they were backing up in my body, creating a traffic jam, so to speak. Instead, I found the exact opposite. You need sulfur to process estrogen. People with estrogen dominance are encouraged to eat cruciferous vegetables which have high sulfur content. Maybe an estrogen dominatrix, instead of a whip, she whips you with bok choy. And one of the supplements that many with estrogen dominance take is calcium D-glucarate, which was what was helpful to me. Calcium D-glucarate helps the body eliminate excess estrogen and aids in phase 2 liver detoxification. I'm not going to go too deeply into this topic, but I will leave a couple of lay publications in the video description box. In short, you need a lot of nutrients to carry out phase 2 liver detoxification, but a lot of those are sulfur containing. So that includes the sulfur containing amino acids like methionine, taurine, and cysteine. Phase 2 liver detoxification also requires glutathione, which is a sulfuric compound, and you need sulfur to make it. And one of the pathways in phase 2 liver detoxification is literally called sulfation. I'm pretty sure you can guess what that needs to work. If you guessed sulfur, you get a gold star. All of my doctors were worried that my extremely limited diet was going to exacerbate symptoms or lead to problems, and I agreed with them. And all of my doctors and I knew that the low sulfur diet is supposed to be temporary, but how are you supposed to add in more sulfur foods when they're so inflammatory to your body? It was untenable. It's very hard to find an accurate sulfur counter on the internet, and sulfur is one of the most abundant elements in the human body, and it's found in all living tissues. Some say you can't be sulfur intolerant because of this, but clinically we know that this isn't true, and maybe sulfur intolerance isn't the correct terminology, but clinically we know that sulfur-containing foods can make some people very, very sick. But I think the reason why none of my doctors were like, I'm worried about you becoming sulfur deficient is because it's not on anybody's radar. Why would it be? Sulfur is found in such a wide variety of foods. So yeah, like everyone and their mother has heard of vitamin D deficiency, but no one ever talks about sulfur deficiency. And even when people go on a low sulfur diet, they still eat small amounts of meat. My low sulfur diet wasn't just low sulfur. In my opinion, it was dangerously low sulfur. So I had the sulfur and estrogen connection, but I was still missing the piece of reacting to safflower oil and butter. Originally, I just chalked it up to my MCAS getting worse. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. I came across an article on sulfur on Kaiser Permanente, and it said that sulfur is needed to digest fat because sulfur is needed to create bile acids, and bile acids are what help you digest fat. And after I read that sentence, that's when I woke my mom up and I said, I figured it out. Now, of course, there are dozens or maybe even hundreds of reasons why someone might be losing their hair, experiencing breast swelling, and not able to digest fat. But for me and my case and constellation of symptoms, I really feel that it was the sulfur element. Sulfur's an element, get it? I've now been working with my naturopath to slowly add foods back in, including sulfuric foods. So I've been able to successfully add lentils, bok choy, asparagus, artichoke hearts. It's so many I can't rember. Romaine lettuce, dark turkey meat, and ghee. I've also been taking small but still therapeutic amounts of B2, B12, mo-zyme 4, which the main ingredient is molybdenum.
That's you. You're on the floor.
Do you want to hear what's more annoying than me singing? It's me singing off key on purpose. I came in like a wrecking ball. Good morning, Baltimore. Every day's like an upender. Thank you. Thank you. These supplements help me process the sulfur and mitigate symptoms. If I don't take them, then I can still get the crushing fatigue, but I don't get the nerve pain anymore and my hair has stopped falling out, so I do feel like I'm overall healthier. I'm also still on a low and intermittent dose of both Xifaxan and NAC to keep the SIBO in remission. And finally, I want to address which one of my doctors I think was right about my newly acquired sulfur sensitivity. Drumroll, please. All of them! I think the hydrogen sulfide SIBO, my SNPs, and my MCAS all played into my symptomology. This is my take on it now, which obviously is subject to change as I learn more. How exactly hydrogen sulfide SIBO makes someone with MCAS reactive to high sulfur foods is not in the scientific literature yet, as far as I'm aware. The reason why I think MCAS is at play here is because some of my very painful sulfur sensitivity reactions were responsive to MCAS meds. There was one time where I was on the floor in the bathroom with 9.5 out of 10 pain in my stomach, screaming to my mom that we needed to go to the ER, and my MCAS meds prevented us from having to go to the ER. And this reaction happened after having a high sulfur meal. At the very least, the SIBO was making me so reactive that at one point I was literally reacting to the process of ingesting. I would have not been able to tolerate any of those supplements or any of those new foods had I not treated the SIBO. So even if the hydrogen sulfide SIBO didn't cause the sulfur sensitivity directly, it would have made it impossible to address the sulfur processing issue. Treating SIBO and keeping it in remission has brought my overall reactivity down markedly. So next on to the sulfur processing hypothesis. Briefly and simply, my constellation of single nucleotide polymorphisms, or SNPs, made me vulnerable to developing sulfur processing problems through the transsulfuration pathway. Even if you have criticisms of the whole SNPs epigenetics thing, my symptoms respond fairly well to molybdenum, and molybdenum is one of the most important things prescribed to those with transsulfuration pathway issues because it helps turn sulfite into sulfate through the sulfite oxidase enzyme. Did I get that correct? I say sulfite oxidase enzymatic pathway. Yeah. This indicates for me that my sulfur sensitivity was due, at least in part, to sulfur processing issues. And after being on such a limited low sulfur diet without any supplemental support, my body became unable to process the sulfur. It's almost like not eating meat made me less able to eat meat. There are a lot of nutrients in meat, including B2 and B12, and this helps process sulfur and in methylation. And of course, you can get these nutrients from supplements, but I couldn't because of the hydrogen sulfide SIBO. Another part of this hydrogen sulfide SIBO, MCAS, and sulfur processing trifecta, or should I say cluster F, is that many people with periods report worsening of symptoms around their menstrual cycle. Well, considering I wasn't excreting estrogen to the point where my breasts were swollen 24/7, I was losing hair, and I was basically an estrogen dominatrix, I think it seems very possible and maybe even probable that that excess estrogen was worsening my MCAS. So my health is still a work in progress and I'm still learning, but my mom and my team and I have taken me away from TPN talk, and I do feel very hopeful, not very, just hopeful about regaining my health. To support my channel and my hard work, make sure to like this video, share this video, and comment anything down below that you want to comment, but make sure that the comment goes through. This weird thing has been happening where someone comments and I get a notification that someone comments, and then I go to respond and then the comment's gone. So one of my Bartonella buddies told me that that happened to her, so make sure your comments are going through. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you're looking for more ways to support my work, visit the video description box down below. Piper says, guess what I'm dressed as? What, Piper? I'm dressed as a dominatrix. Get it? Because I'm wearing a harness. Oh my, you dirty dog. Bye, fellow health-seeking humans. Woke up today hungry for something that I can't eat, like all the types of meat, except I can eat turkey.